For the purposes of people who don't know who you are, can you just give a brief introduction as to who and what you do?
My name is Nash and I am a visual artist based in East London.
Wonderful. So you recently had a exhibition here. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's called Kamuta Ka, which means ignite the soul. Kamuta is ancient Carib for ignites, and Ka is ancient Egyptian for the soul / vital energy.
Nice. And you had a few different genres of artwork in your exhibition. What kinds did you have?
I had photography, more kind of like photorealistic portraits and abstract pieces.
Nice. And in terms of the vast majorities of genres that you paint with, is there a particular trigger that urges you to paint in abstract? Because you had a few abstract pieces in your exhibition.
Yeah, a lot of my abstract work I make when I could be in a place of like turmoil or upheaval, maybe mentally, spiritually, and I feel like I need to release that energy on the canvas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use any types of materials when you're making abstract pieces?
I try not to use that many. I will use stuff that's more kind of like primitive to try and just be more connected to the work. And it's more about the process of making the painting rather than the painting itself.
Okay. And how is the creative process different for you, painting an abstract painting as opposed to a figurative portrait piece?
Well, with a portrait I tend to kind of like research the image. Because I do photography, I kind of look at the way it's lit, the way it is like within the frame and all that kind of stuff, so it's aesthetically pleasing, should I say. But with the abstract piece, it's just raw, kind of just visceral energy, you know.
And what sort of characteristics inspire you to paint someone's portrait? Because you said that you, obviously you do photography and you have painted portraits before. Do you find that the things that inspire you can be physical or physiological attributes in a person? What is it?
I would say, well, so far, most of the portraits I've done have been of musicians and have been pencil sketches. And it was more because I gravitate to their music and the message, should I say. Or it could just be the beats. But there's not been necessarily a characteristic within them that has made me think, oh, I really want to paint them or draw them, you know? Yeah.
And in terms of portraits again, your self-portrait emanates a lot of strength and vulnerability. And what sort of feelings were you going through while you were creating your own piece, looking back on it now?
It was more of a transitional period for me. That piece is the first in a self project that I'm working on, and the whole project, or the purpose of the whole project, is basically for me to heal and kind of just uplift myself through art. I'll be working with photography, painting, abstract pieces, spoken word, the whole, like, it's just about kind of getting back to base, loving myself and accepting myself as well, because we all need to be able to accept ourselves.
And what about in terms of structurally creating a portrait? Like, what did you go through when you were actually painting yourself? Was it weird to paint yourself, or was it did you kind of have to kind of assume that it was a different person? Or?
No, I think probably painting yourself it's easier than painting someone else because you know yourself. But it was odd studying myself because I've never looked at my face for that long. But those little things I was thinking, oh, I like that, well, say nothing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And you touched on music earlier. What role does music play in your artistic process?
It depends. Sometimes it could be, again, I draw a musician that I gravitate towards. but a lot of times I do make work in response to music, because sometimes I feel like I can see sounds or I get visuals when I hear music, so I need to just release that straight away.
Okay. So do you create abstract pieces as well as portrait pieces while listening to music, or is it just in accordance to it?
Most of the time when I'm painting, I've got some sort of music in the background. Again, some music pieces urge me to make, and some pieces of music can just be like a background just to kind of help me keep going, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a black artist, what are some of the challenges you face, whether it be creatively or getting your work out to the vast masses? What challenges have you faced or are you now facing at the moment, at this time in your career?
Well, I think because I am a black artist and I kind of try and address a lot of black issues in my work, it doesn't necessarily translate, or not everybody can relate to it, because obviously not everyone is black. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel like if I was making more abstract based work, it would be accepted by more people, because it's quite, you can project your own narrative onto the abstract piece, you know, but I can't just do that alone. I feel moved to make different types of work for different things, you know, and it's funny because two of my aunts, when they came down to see the show, they loved everything, and they was like, but you need to start making more work that's kind of like multicultural and not just looking at the black narrative per se, so that it can relate to more people. And I said, yeah, that's good, but as black people, our stories have not always been told from our perspective. It's always been someone else's perspective or their assumptions of us. So I would like to challenge that and provide some sort of truth within my work, you know, whether it be in regards to the struggles that we're facing or our history, how it's been kind of rewritten to suit agendas that we don't need to get into, but yeah. So I just try and do things for us, because we have been overlooked in a sense, especially within the art world, for a long period of time. And at the moment there are certain things that are on trend, tribal aesthetics and stuff, which is good, but we need to also appreciate the people, you know?
And what difficulties do you find now about getting your work out to not only your own community but the rest of our mainstream society, in that sense?
I think the main difficulty is really there's a big issue if you haven't really got a lot of backing behind you, you're not very popular. So I'm not that known, but so it's hard to kind of like approach certain venues and ask them to show my work, because I haven't really got gallery backing and I haven't got a whole heap of following behind me as well, which is cool because I don't make art for following or for money per se. That's just a nice bonus. I make art because I need to release energy and tell stories through my work, you know, but it is difficult trying to align with these certain places that I need to be. But again, in time, everything happens, you know, in the time that it's supposed to happen. I do believe in that.
And as obviously a black artist and as a woman, you photograph other women, not to hypersexualize them, but to kind of create a awareness of black beauty. So what part, if any, does sex play in the work you have created or will create?
Well, I think that my work's kind of, I try within my work to kind of again challenge the stereotypes of dark skin. My photographic work, a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time I do shoot people or women with a darker complexion in a beautiful way because they're beautiful, you know. But that's something that has always been negative per se, should I say, like dark skin has always been, they've always kind of like put a negative spin on dark skin. Even if there was I think it was a Time magazine cover of O.J. Simpson when that whole case happened back in the day, they made him look darker on the cover. So just little things like that, the media kind of subliminally programs darker skin to negativity or not to beauty. Paler skin in a lot of cultures is seen as more beautiful, and I don't necessarily agree that. I feel like everyone is beautiful, but I highlight dark skin because it's not been highlighted before. Well, now it is starting to be highlighted slowly, but I just feel like, why should we make someone feel less beautiful because they're dark? It just doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean?
So which artists or photographers have been your biggest influence and why?
Well, I try not to kind of like emulate other photographers and artists' work the best I can, because I feel like whenever you're in like an education establishment, they always get you to kind of do that when you're researching different artists and stuff. But there are a lot of people from like my generation that I do look to for inspiration, and kind of like they drive me to make better work. Like photographers like Kes Koo, Afreak, Street Etiquette, even just fellow artists in my collective, OKD, JEBAK and LC Cullen. There's quite a few people around that just, they make great work, and in turn it pushes you to make great work too, you know?
Is there anybody like super famous who you're like, I'd love to collaborate or work with, or?
I've always had a spot for David Bailey's portraits from the 60s.
Okay.
I love his work. I love it.
What do you love about his work?
I don't know, like it's just, his black and white portraits are just so... I don't know how to verbalize it, but they just resonate with me on some level. I don't know, I can't explain.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are missing out, but yeah, his portraits, sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. And in terms of different work that you do, you have your sculpture in the window and your name in letters. Hold on.
Thank you.
What went behind making the sculpture? How did you come about it? What does it mean to you?
Well, the sculpture kind of has a dual meaning. The first interpretation, or the first meaning, should I say, it's basically two pyramids. So there's an external pyramid with a hand kind of reaching to touch the internal pyramid, and the internal pyramid is a fist in the middle. Now, the hand could represent self, and the pyramid could be your circumstances, your life, your being. That first hand is trying to lift up the other sculpture whilst reaching for the other pyramid. The other pyramid could be maybe your loved ones. They're inside, they're kind of trapped inside. So it's almost like when you're elevating your mind, trying to get to your next stage of quote unquote enlightenment per se, you're trying to elevate yourself. Sometimes there's people around you who are kind of trapped in old ways of thinking, and you try to like reach them and explain to them what's going on, whatever the case may be, but then they still, by you doing that and them not really wanting to kind of break out from their own circumstances, you can't elevate fully, because it's kind of awkward the way the big pyramid is kind of like it's coming off the ground just a little bit, it's not quite above it, and it's like that can hinder you. And I feel like the other meaning for it as well, which is really the main meaning for me anyway, is more it's more in relation to black people and the black struggle. A lot of the times now we're kind of like we're almost waking up in a sense to a lot of the oppression that we faced, and we're trying to we've got movements like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, but there are people that are like not making changes from within, but they're very frustrated at the situation that we're in, and that is more represented with the fist inside the small pyramid. And there's people that are actually trying to elevate their mind, because I truly believe that change starts within the mind, and if you don't change your mindset, then you can't change your circumstances. And just for example, stuff like, when we try and protest and stuff, protesting in the park is fine, but when they're going to protest by the M25, they cause more disruption, when then people will look at what's going on. So it's kind of like when you're trying to kind of change people's mindsets towards black history or like black issues, you trying to change people's mindsets is going to stop you from elevating your own, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, change your own mindset and, you know, come up with a solid plan as how you're going to affect and create change, but you have to focus on yourself first, because everything starts within. You know, it's hard when we're facing a mass like scale, or should I say a mass attack on our people, in a sense. I know some people might be saying it's not that bad, it's just, you don't just blow that proportion. It's a lot deeper than that. And I think when you see it on a daily basis and it's in your community and you face it, it's very real. This is why I have to make work about it. But we can't focus on changing people's minds. That can't be our main point of focus, should I say. We have to be able to elevate our minds ourselves, you know? Because there's, I said to someone once in conversation that like we can't ask the oppressor for freedom. We have to take it. They're not going to want to free us, do you know what I mean? So you have to be able to take back your mind, and you have to ask for anything. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Wonderful. And apart from being a painter, photographer, sculptor, do you have any other hidden talents?
Okay, I'm a gymnast. So no. I like to cook, and I feel like if I fail as an artist, I'm gonna be a chef.